Anyway, welcome everybody to the Daily Closing. This is episode 51. We have a number of things that we want to cover. I'm happy that I have fantastic company today, as I always do, with Lorena Pernalete and Alexi Smith. Obviously, we can't ignore some of the news and some of the names that came out of the list of Jeffrey Epstein. Some people that are concerned about some of the names, some people that are happy about some of the names, and some people that were unpleasantly, how can I say, disillusioned that they were hoping for other names to show up that didn't, at least not at the level that they expected. This whole thing about the list of Jeffrey Epstein, obviously there was some big names that were already rumored. That Prince Andrew, they talk about he was essentially demoted from his royal duties. That this is back even when Queen Elizabeth was the one who actually took that action. His brother King Charles is even less happy about that. Definitely is not going to put him again in any position of royal duties or any kind of power connected to the monarchy. That's a lot to lose, though. That's a lot to lose. The prestige that not only as an individual, but also to the crown. It was a lot to put on. There was a financial settlement that took place, hopefully to make this thing go away. This is not something that's going to go away until every name comes out and until somebody answers the question as to why we not locking up any of these people. We're talking about pedophiles. You're talking about people that were essentially, having sexual encounters with minors. You're talking about people that, anything from the talking about high-end pimps, and pimping. And you're talking about, but more than that, you're talking about human trafficking. You're talking about there's so many things that are run with this whole thing. For a few days before the list was coming out, part of the subpoenas and the conversations, right, that they had with many of the witnesses, asking them questions and stuff like that, the name of Donald Trump came up in multiple occasions. So everybody was extremely happy, always assuming, right, again, the Trump haters, assuming that that he was on the plane and he was on the island 1,000 times out of, again, there was multiple presidents or former presidents that were named, but he's the only guy that not only did not participate on that. This is a guy that actually removed him from the Mar-a-Lago club. And then, in addition to that, and it was for a very specific reason. I'll let you guys elaborate on that. Obviously, this is not something that we can ignore.
Here's the way that I look at the Jeffrey Epstein thing. Even up until the 900-page document, which is the first one, and I think the other 400 pages came out afterwards. With all of that happened, I still think they're just making noise here for people not to really pay attention to whatever's happening. Here's the reason why. We've known about Prince Andrew for how long? And so that's not news. We've known about Bill Clinton being buddy with this guy for how long. So the one thing that I believe people were trying to prove was the whole Donald Trump thing. And it's funny that you mentioned that. Yes, he was as a person that owns a casino in Atlantic City, the conversation every time Trump was mentioned was so far, by the way, it's as far as that, right? It's like, hey, we're going to go to the casino. Let's make a stop by there. And Donald Trump was actually the only person that out of all that list, by the way, not a single person on the list endorses Trump. And Trump is the only guy that has been standing up and saying, hey, guys, hey, dude, you're not allowed in this. You made a pass on my on somebody, a member of Mar-a-Lago kid. And he said, that's not okay. So you're not allowed here. By the way, he didn't do that a couple months ago. He didn't do that a couple of years ago. He did it. It's been a little bit since he's done it. So I still believe, though, 100% that, again, they made it seem, because close to 1,500 pages were released, that there was a lot of new stuff that's going to come out. Not a whole lot of new things came out that you can be like, oh, my God, this is shocking. There's a lot of names that are being redacted. And if you look at the documents themselves, they go from page 23 to page 95 like this. So it's like, by the way, when you look at the actual filing of the court, there's a bunch of pages that are missing. So it's not like the document was incomplete in the sense when it was released here. It's just that that's the way that it's being presented. So it's still really fishy. It's still kind of, I don't know. Like, I don't like it. There's not a whole lot of new news there.
With the whole Epstein thing, I feel like no matter what, a lot of people don't want to accept it. But we got to know that there's crazy people in the world, right? Like we don't like to hear that it's that crazy things happen, like so even like back when we were seeing the movie The Sound of Freedom, right? We got to remember that America is one of the biggest contributors to sex trafficking, with kids, and then so even though it happens all over the world, a big part of that happens with America or Americans, so to me, there is no one that I'll put it past to say, oh, 100%. I know this person would not do anything, but like I said, at the same time, it could be where people, once they feel like they're gonna get in trouble, it's like you ever been a kid, and then you got caught by somebody, and then all of a sudden you want to rat everybody else out. It's one of those type of things. But sometimes you might throw names in there that they wasn't even a part of it. It's like, well, if I'm gonna go down, everybody's going down. So like it's one of those weird things. So like I definitely believe it's a weird situation that we have to pay attention to. The fact that Epstein himself killed himself, it's like we don't know how much of what he's saying is like to throw people under the bus as far as like they actually something. Huh?
Right, that's a big question. Also, it's like, was he murdered?
True. Yeah, exactly. But the fact that he's not alive, it's like now, how do we know that he was trying to throw somebody in the bus as far as this person did something versus, oh no, we're gonna make it look like all these people did something where they could have had nothing to do with the actual, acts of, the biggest problem, which is, doing,
So there are three questions that come to mind, right, for me, in that people keep on asking, and that's the first one, right? Did Epstein actually committed suicide? Even though the first time that he attempted suicide, he said, "I didn't. Somebody tried to take me out," right? And so the second time around, very rapidly, the attorney general said, "Hey, this was ruled by suicide," and his brother was actually investigating the whole process. They keep on telling him, no, it's just, this is suicide. So of course, when the moment that happens, every other investigation goes away. But there's a lot of, again, the stuff that are incomplete as far as his investigation, as far as the death. That's one. Number two, there's many people that are dying, that died suddenly, and that are continuing to pass as this thing takes into account. There's a detective. There's a couple people that is like, this dude, 50 years old, just passed away. I forgot his name, but he's one of the detectives that was looking into it. And it's like, how is he dead of a rare medical condition? It's people drowning and dying connected to this case. There's very many powerful people that are in these documents, that are involved in this case. And so, of course, there's a lot of money to be to silence a bunch of stuff. The third question that I ask, and for me, it's like the most important, is where is the accountability? Because it is proven right now that there are, according to whatever the documents say, right? It's like that there was things that were done right with kids, and I just have a hard time even saying what happened, because I did look into the documents and it was super disgusting. How is it possible that there are names that are clearly tied to this whole thing and there is zero accountability for the process? It's just kind of like, it really sucks.
Well, I mean, I tell you and more. I mean, just recently was reported there was some kind of high-end brothel operating, in the DC area, and it was catering mostly to some of the politicians in the area, right? And then there's always the question of, because this guy was definitely not a good actor, This guy was definitely somebody that was apparently, the many of the things that he was constantly doing is to try to put people in compromising positions where later on you can get blackmail a little bit, or to be able to move in a specific direction. So imagine if you're a politician, right? And now you get a phone call saying, hey, you better vote like this because otherwise we're going to release this or we're going to release that. Then now you have other people controlling the country. So, but by the way, almost nothing has been said about this situation out of Washington either. Washington, D.C., imagine just putting in there people that are constantly, again, in a having this sexual encounters. God knows what kind of microphones, what kind of cameras, what kind of stuff was putting out there. And so there's no accountability when it comes to this thing. So for me, here's the way I see it. You have a lot of people that unfortunately got to the point of believing that this was something normal. You know what I mean? That being part of this life was something completely normal up until they got busted. You know what I mean? There's a little bit of that. I'm playing with fire, and I know I'm playing with fire that has some kind of attraction and allure. Right? I mean, let's face it. I mean, every time you're doing something that you know is borderline, is it's gonna have your heart is palpitating. So that kind of rush, the adrenaline of being in something like that. I understand why many people decided to go and play around with this kind of games that are extremely dangerous to play, especially people at the levels, you know what I mean, that they operate politically, business, or all of that, you know what I mean, knowing that you can be blackmailed or something can actually happen. But also, listen, there in this area, there's also real victims, and there are also some people that are playing victim. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of, how can I phrase this? Today we are saying that a 6-year-old child has the ability to affirm their own gender. But we are saying that a 17, 16, 17-year-old is not capable to make a choice as to whether or not she should be okay jumping in a plane, going to an island multiple times, knowing that what's going to happen there is essentially a sexual experience that later on becomes I was abused, right? You know what I mean? And so now, obviously, all kinds of manipulations, all kinds of stuff that absolutely takes place. All I'm saying is that when it comes to this situation, if you want to make a monster look like a bigger monster, is just plant around a few more victims that are needed. What I do want to see is I would like to see some people getting arrested. I'll be honest with you. I don't know if you ever see somebody like everybody. Bill Clinton is not even in the country right now. He's just saying, listen, let me go take a little break somewhere in the middle of nowhere so that I don't have to deal with this. I don't know. I don't care who it was, to be quite honest with you. If Donald Trump would have been somebody that essentially they came out with pictures and say, this is, getting massages.
Lawsuit number 15.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't care who it is. You know what I mean? That some people do need to get arrested, and I hope to see that happening. But the way it's going, it looks like, this is just a lot of smoke that eventually is going to go away. And unfortunately, nothing is going to happen because we do have a two-tier justice system in this country today. You know what I mean? So, but with that being said, guys, any closing thoughts? Definitely happy New Year to everybody who's going to be watching this. Obviously, I know some of the stuff. How do you close in this message for today?
So for me, I would say this. I think no matter what's going on, we got to know that there's different entities that are trying to take control of our life. You get what I'm saying? There's different people trying to tell us how to think, trying to tell us what's right, trying to tell us where to go, trying to tell us, what job we should have or shouldn't have, so you got to know that things like that are never going to go away. But one of the great things about most people's mindset around a new year is they start believing that they can make changes, for themselves. You get what I'm saying? To put their life in the direction that they want. And I think more than anything, we got to remember that. Yes, those entities are not going away. The government's not going away. The school system that's supposed to teach you, that's not teaching you, is not going away. But at the end of the day, you have a lot more power than you believe. And you can decide, okay, start in 2024, I'm going to make more money, or start in 2024, I'm going to lose some weight, or start in 2020, regardless of what's going on everywhere else, I'm going to take my life into my own hands to put myself in the best position for me and my family. So I think this is a great opportunity for everybody to treat this year like it is going to be the best year of their life and, actually take control of their life.
Well, for me, the whole concept of new year, new me, it started and it has to start, it's not a switch. It's a gradual change. And, the whole concept of, let's take it from wealth and health and, all of these different things, right? The whole obesity runs in my family. Therefore, my family was poor. Therefore, I am. And it's not a sentence, it's not that obesity runs in your family or your family was poor. It's that you have those habits, and those habits were passed on from generation to generation. And so it's up to you to make a decision and to make a gradual change. So this concept, we learned it from Patrick always talks about it, and we've been applying it. Choose 3 things three things that are going to help your health, three things that are going to help your health, your wealth, and whatever else that is important to you, and choose three new habits that you're going to change, that you're going to upgrade, whether it's something that you're going to give up, whether it's something that you're going to add, right? Is it savings? Is it, dropping the amount of carbs? Is it fasting for a certain amount? Whatever it is that is going to be important to you, new year, new you really does require a new you. And nothing changes until something changes, right? That to me, starting the year is probably one of the most important things is don't give up. Most people underestimate what they can do in an extended period of time, but they overestimate what they can do in a short period of time. So it's the concept of, I open it at the beginning when we were talking about, it's like day one of me going on a diet and like taking the picture and there's zero changes. There's not supposed to be any changes the first day. There's probably not going to be any changes the first couple months because it's a habit. And nothing changes until you upgrade those habits that are coming to you. So if there's one thing that I want to leave our listeners to is that. And then the second thing, it would be connected to values and principles. You have to be very clear about what is important to you, what is important to your family, what are some of the values and principles, what do we stand for as a family, or as an individual, and what are your non-negotiables? Because the way that social media is being run, the media is being put together, you're being pulled in a million different directions, it becomes very easy for you to get lost. And so, but as long as you're clear, as long as you're upgrading and you're chasing the next version of yourself, future looks bright. So excited for whatever is to come. Excited to see some of the changes and upgrades and people sharing with us, man, the perspective. Let me learn a little bit more so I have the opportunity to get better, get a different perspective, and just go into 2024 with the best mindset possible.
100%. And at the end of the day, maybe the only thing that I will remind everybody is this is going to be a year with many, many, many incredible distractions. A lot of noise, a lot of stuff, economy, elections, you know what I mean? As an election year is always, that's the constantly pounding. And so, the whole simple concept of, before you rescue the planet, you got to learn how to rescue yourself. I'm going to invite everybody to pay attention to their current situation. How do you avoid this distraction so that you can continue in a path of improvement on every component, you know what I mean? Mentally, physically, but also financially, you know what I mean? Which is extremely important. Guys, make no mistake about it. The biggest stress that people are dealing with today have to do with money, right? So if we can fix that, if we can get a handle of that, life gets simpler, you know what I mean? And everything else gives us a lot more choices. But with that being said, everybody, if you got some value from this conversation, please do share, comment. You know what I mean? Let us know, what do you think about some of these concepts? What do you think about the economy? How do you see it? What is your perspective? Overreaching for some good news, or is there really good news out there? Obviously, the whole situation with Epstein. And with that being said, everybody, guys, great seeing you. Thank you so much for this conversation today. Right? Take care, everyone. We'll see you in the next one.